The Vanguard is one of the most iconic heavy fighters in Star Citizen. It is very well known for its durability, having 2 size 2 shield generators and a boatload of HP. Its forward nose firepower is tremendous for a ship of its size, and it even has a gunner to kind of help out with your blind spots. All around, it's a very good ship, but it does come with some variants. The variants have subtle differences and not so subtle differences that a lot of players don't know about. In this video, we are going to go over in detail, as briefly as possible, the differences, and in the end, I'm going to give you my recommendation. If you just want my recommendation now, get the Vanguard Warden. It's the basis in which all Vanguards are based off of, and it is overall the best. So in red, we will have the Vanguard Warden, and for all further purposes of this video, the Warden will always be red. Anything it is being compared to will be in blue. Right off the rip here, we're going to start with the Sentinel. The Sentinel is the most recommended variant of the Vanguard. People tend to recommend it because of the maneuverability and the EMP it brings. It does this at the cost of a significant amount of HP. I don't think a lot of people either know this or even acknowledge it, but the HP difference is staggering. The HP on the Vanguard Sentinel is half of that of a Warden. The Warden is at 42,400. The Sentinel is at 23,460. That is a significant difference. This minor shield pool difference doesn't matter. Not at all. So, you're trading a lot for that EMP and that maneuverability, right? So, let's get to a more detailed summary chart here. So, in this chart, we are going to actually see the differences here. So, the max speed is a bit higher on the Warden, which is pretty funny, because you can kind of, in theory, run things down. SEM is whatever. The differences you're seeing are here on the right between the forward, the retros, the boosts, the accesses, and all this stuff. This is where the maneuverability comes in. Does this look like it's worth half of your HP pool and a frickin' unreliable EMP? I don't. This is what people don't tell you. So, consider this, okay? This is pretty significant. The second most recommended Vanguard variant is the Harbinger. People like to recommend the Harbinger because it is supposedly the tankier version of them, and it comes with a torpedo bay and an upgun turret. Not that impressive. You're getting torpedoes, which suck, let's be real here. You can't change them. You can't put on Scimitar 5s. You can put Scimitar 5s on, they'd probably be pretty good, but you can't, so it sucks. The HP variance is too close to count. It's pretty insignificant, but the performance differences are massive. Let's go to that summary chart and take a look at this. Wow. Okay, this is like near Constellation tier handling, alright? This is terrible. You trade in a significant amount of maneuverability and speed and handling, okay, for a garbage size 5 torpedo hardpoint that you can't even customize, and a crappy upgun turret. Like, it's 2 size 3s instead of 2 size 2s. That's not worth it. Does this look worth it to you? Again, we're using the Warden as the basic metric of all Vanguard variants. Let this sink in before you make a decision on what you want to get. So the next and final variant we're going to compare is the Hoplite. Nobody ever mentions this ship. It is a dropship. It is a very good dropship, but it is still a dropship. There is not much of a point to dropships in Star Citizen, but if there was, this would be one of my favorites. Differences here, not very significant, alright? So let's go to the summary chart here. Interesting, right? It's a little bit, ever so slightly more maneuverable than the Warden. The Warden's still got to beat on top speed, but it's pretty damn close between the two here. The Hoplite and the Warden are pretty close. This is what, for me, makes it the second best of these variants, because it's the closest to the center. It's the closest to the center with just a little bit of a difference and enough of a gimmick, the gimmick being it being a dropship, that makes it worthwhile to me. So now that you've been given the detailed breakdown of these ships, let me rank them and give you my opinion here. The best general purpose all-around version of the Vanguard for number 1 is going to be the Warden. Warden, for me, ranks number 1. If you have to have one variant of this ship, 100% get the Warden. Can't go wrong with it. It's great for its long-range fuel. You can throw in a military-grade quantum drive XL1, go all the way around Stanton twice if you want to, pretty quickly. You can do lots of bounties with it, nice forward firepower. It's just all around great. So, the Warden, go with that one. Plus, you're durable. The second most recommended one for me is going to be the Hoplite. And I say that because it's really the only unique version of this ship. And I recommend the Hoplite because it gives you a bit of versatility if you have friends to do ground missions, do ground bunkers with guys you can carry inside of a true dropship. It's great for raiding Korea. It's great for doing touchdowns on Ghost Hollow. It's pretty okay for Jumptown, inserting a small crew. It's a very good ship. And if you're a good pilot, you can actually fight with it. So you could, in theory, drop off your soldiers and then provide close air support or, you know, air support in general to help kind of protect your guys. Think of it like a Hind, right? It's heavily armored, it's tough, it's durable. You can do some ground op support, and you can also, you know, if you're Liquid Snake, you can shoot down F-16s. So, overall, it's very good. Secondary recommendation goes to the Hoplite. Third recommendation is begrudgingly the Sentinel. I don't hate this one. I've used it extensively, especially for the EMP when trying to do pirating. Just knowing that I have half of the HP of the other variants makes me not like this ship. I hate being that frail, especially given a ship that is that big. Now, you could argue that HP doesn't matter when the meta involves currently spamming distortions, and you would be correct. HP doesn't matter when it comes to distortions. However, despite being the meta, not everybody does that. I very rarely run into people doing distortions. When I do, I know that they mean business. So most of the players I run into are running still, you know, repeaters trying to scrag me that way. So having that less HP, that big deficit, it doesn't sit too well with me. So that would go number 3 in the Hoplite, or in the Vanguard variants. The fourth and final variant that I would recommend as an absolute last is the Harbinger. The Harbinger, to me, is not even a pleasure to fly. It is slow, it is lumbering, it is heavy. It feels almost like a Constellation Andromeda, what it's handling. It's not as bad, but that's what it feels like, you know, especially when you go from any other Vanguard series ship to it. It just feels like crap. The size 5 torpedo bay is interesting, and it would be good if you could change them out to Scimitar 5s. Then I could see a reason to have the Harbinger. The bigger guns on the back are nice. The capacitor's still the same, though, so it's roughly equates to the same amount of damage. So while they look cooler, it's not that significant. I just don't like it. If I wanted to have a size 5 torpedo boat, I would probably grab a Gladiator instead. It's a lot more stylistic, you know, and it's just overall feels a bit better.